my name is Miranda, and congratulations because you have survived 2017. I know it seemed bleak sometimes, it seemed like there were no good coming out of the year, but you're at the end, and hopefully, if you're like me, there's a bunch of great books you have read. When I started to make this list, I wasn't like, I don't know, I thought there would just be more books on the list, but it took a while to really find a list that I love. So without further ado, let's get started on the book list. And they're not really in order, like I said, it's just how I thought of them as I was writing them down. So first up, I have the third and final book in the Magna Chase series by Rick Riordan. I really love Rick Riordan's books, but one thing that never seems to click for me is his ending books. Like, those are always just happen to be my least favorite in the series. And I am pleased to say that did not happen at all with Magna Chase. I was so happy with how this book played out and the messages it had, how it treated the characters. I think it was just a really good send-off, if you can say, because I can see these characters popping up again in other books. It was just really great to see all the action scenes and the romance of it and just all of it come together. I really liked it, and I think Rick hit it out of the park with the ending for this one. Next up, I have Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, I think is how you say her name. I really love this book, guys. I think it's one of the best depictions of mental illness I have seen in YA probably ever, and specifically depression and anxiety. When I was in high school, struggled with very severe depression, so I related a lot to what the main character was going through. This book it treated it in such a genuine, honest way, and it made all these feelings like actual feelings and not just like, this is how you should be feeling, this is how you're feeling, and it's wrong. And it just, guys, it made me cry, and any book that makes me cry for happy, you know, like, not because I'm like, this book is so bad, but like, it was like sad tears and happy tears and just all the tears. So I think it was absolutely great, and if you haven't read it, highly encourage you to read it. It's so raw and honest, and I really loved it. After that, I have The Sun and Her Flowers by Rupi Kaur, I think is how you say her name. This was the follow-up to Milk and Honey, which was a huge book, and I know a lot of people, this is like either hit or miss for them. Either you love it and you like the poetry style, or you hate it and you don't get it. I fall into the category of I love it, and I think Rupi just has such a way of telling these brutally honest stories that she has gone through, but she does it in a way that's so poetic, which makes sense. But like, honestly, there's some stories that as I'm reading them, I'm like, is what I think happening, because this is like such a like metaphoric way to describe it, but it's like making me cry because it is what I think is happening. And I don't want to spoil any of it because it's really about her. She writes basically a whole year is just her writing, and that's what the book is, and she's trying to go through all these stages, much like in Milk and Honey. It was just beautiful. Like, that's the only way I can describe her poems usually, is the best way. Just like beautiful and stunning and intimate, and they stick with you, and it's really awesome. I really like it, and it's getting a lot of people, I feel like, into poetry that aren't really into poetry, so you can't fault it for that. Next up, I have Unfiltered by Lily Collins. This is kind of her memoir autobiography. And I really like Lily Collins as an actress, but this book definitely had a lot more depth to it than I thought, I guess. Like, I thought it would kind of just be about her life, growing up as a daughter of someone who's famous, but she talked about being in a abusive relationship. She talked about having an eating disorder. It was just very honest and open, and I think that was the best thing about it, was to see someone who looks, for all intents and purposes, like their life is perfect, to really open up about not only how these things happened to her and how she dealt with these things, but also about how she was able to hide them for so long. And I think that was something that was really important to read, because it makes it seem like either it all falls apart or it's all perfect, and it was kind of how her talking about how behind the scenes and to herself she was falling apart, but to other people she could keep it very well on top of things. So I think that was really great to see, and I just really liked it. I think it was honest and open, and I think it's going to help a lot of people who read it, and I appreciate her for being willing to share her story just for that reason. I think it's great. After that, I have Wonder Woman by Leigh Bardugo, which was the first in this DC Icon series that's being kicked off. Wonder Woman, this was actually a month or two after the movie came out, but it really has no relation to the movie. It was written by Leigh Bardugo, who is my absolute fave, and I just think it was such a kick-ass, wonderful book. There really wasn't a love interest that you could argue about. It was mostly about like girls supporting other girls and helping them along and doing the right thing. And I think it was just such a good book to start the series on, because Wonder Woman is just like obviously such a hot commodity right now, but it's truly like the hero we need in these times. I feel like just someone who is not concerned with what's gonna look good, but what is the right thing to do. After that, I have Long May She Reign by Rianne, I think is how you say it. It might be Rianne or something like that, Thomas. And this book I read at the beginning of the year, absolutely loved it. It's got such a cool premise. It's about this girl who was like 22nd, I believe, in line for the throne. So basically she is never gonna rule. She's like the Emma Watson of Britain or something, you know, in connection to who would be on the throne. But then at a party one night, all of the people ahead of her in the succession line are poisoned, and she becomes the queen overnight, and not only becomes the queen but has to worry now about solving this murder of who killed all these people, and then also watching out for herself in that she could be the target next. What I liked about it is you read a lot about girls in YA books who are very literary, and I like that because that's the kind of girl I am, but it was also nice to read about a girl who was more sciencey, because I feel like you don't always get that. It's either usually like they like books or they hate books and just don't like anything else. So like it was nice to see she had an interest in the science and stuff like that, and the author really took the time to like explain what the character was doing when she was doing stuff and testing stuff, and it was really like cool because she also used like forensic properties to like investigate the murder mystery and stuff like that, and I just really liked it. I wasn't super pleased with the ending. I felt like it was kind of rushed, and I do wish this was a series that had more than one book, but it's really great, and I just think, again, such a cool premise that really delivered on what it promised. After that, I have Lost in a Book by Jennifer Donnelly, and this is a book that was written for the Beauty and the Beast movie that came out this year, and it takes place during the movie. Like, it's not a scene that's actually in the movie, but it takes place after Belle has been captured by the Beast, but before she, you know, breaks the spell and everything. And it's about this game that Love and Death play, and they now use Belle as their kind of champion that they're betting against on this time. And she basically finds herself this mysterious book that will transport her to this mysterious world that seems to be perfect, but the more time she spends there, the more she starts to realize, hey, maybe a fantasy world isn't as great as the real world, even if it seems picture perfect. Like, I want something that's real. But as soon as she realizes that there might be something more sinister to this fantasy world, and she might not actually be able to get out and get back to Beast. It's just really cute. It was great to see Belle even more developed as a character, and then also you get to see more moments between her and Beast when they start to become friends, which was really cute. I think, again, if you love Beauty and Beast, you'll love this. If you didn't, not worth checking out, but I really did like it. And then lastly, I have another poetry book which is by one of my favorite poets, who I used to see all over Tumblr, and I was so excited for her book to come out, and that is Wild Embers by Nikita Gill, and it's poems of rebellion, fire, and beauty. I really like this. It is a lot like the Rupi Kaur, Amanda Lovelace, kind of those poems that are going on right now, but like those poems are popular for a reason, because they're so phenomenally good. And this one especially, I feel like, was so feminist and just girl power that I absolutely loved it. Like, you can see all the poems I paged because I was just so in love with it. It has so many cool parts to it. My favorite one, my absolute favorite, is this section where she rewrites all these fairy tales so they're more feminist. How they could have taken their situations and taking their own autonomy instead of just waiting for someone to come and save them in some of the cases they did. And I really loved it. Like, I think this is my favorite poetry book of the year, and potentially my favorite book of the year. It was just so good and so like great, you know, when like you're really looking forward to a book and it's as great as you expected, like that makes it even better for me. So I highly encourage you to check out this book if you haven't already. Alright, so there you have it. Those are my best books of 2017. Feel free, as always, to leave the best books you read, your favorite books this year down below, and also the worst books you read, because I'm always interested for that drama. So just leave, yeah, any and all books that you loved, books that you hated, books that you can't wait to come out next year, all that stuff. And thank you guys all so much for watching and watching all my book reviews in 2017. I can't wait to do more in 2018, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!